During this same time period, the 3 months, our average response time on paper is 4 minutes. In reality, it's about 2.5 to 3 minutes. The discrepancy comes in with the CAD system. And I don't know if you're familiar with the dispatch system, but from the time you put the call in and enter information, there's a time thing there. But response times have been drastically decreased. Some of the good things we've experienced is in that 3-month time, there were 3 cases when the person was in cardiac arrest. They were resuscitated and have come back to live a productive lifestyle. There were more than 3, but 3 have come back to live a productive lifestyle. So that's a huge plus. One incident in particular in December, there was an auto crash over at exit 14. The part-time staff, along with the volunteers, had to assess an elderly gentleman and extricate him from the vehicle, and that was done boom boom. I mean, very quick, very professional, and he was out of there on his way to the hospital. Just another example of the part-timers and the volunteers working together. Multiple times when there's more than one call going on at a time, working together very well, splitting crews, doing what needs to be done. We may put one part-timer with a volunteer on 2 different ambulances to cover the calls. But the working together is going pretty good. And as I said, we've decreased response times. Some of the things that we're still working on, or some of the programs we're working on now, is working on a system to allow quicker turnaround at the hospital, which will enable the ambulance to get back into the area, the ambulance and the personnel to get back within the first due area. Continued QA program. We're working right now implementing a run follow-up where we can randomly, you wouldn't call every single one, but it's kind of like QA. Call every so many, you can make contact with them, see how the service was, and if there's any problems there. Implementing an evaluation process, looking at ways to pursue funding for some projects that we feel like are necessary to support operations, and continue training and striving to reduce the scene time. Sometimes we catch a lot of flack because the ambulance sat on the scene for so long, and part of that's public education. EMS is not what it was 3 years ago, much less 20 years ago, when you come in, scoop you up, and run to the hospital. Now we'll actually get in trouble if there's certain things we don't do. I mean, you have to document all these vitals, blood sugars. We used to never check blood sugars. EKGs. I don't mean just put you on the monitor, but a true EKG, just like they do in the emergency room. And everything's got to be still and calm to get a good EKG. So all of those things make on-scene time longer sometimes. There are things that need to be done, and if we don't do them, then our certifications will be in jeopardy. EMS has changed so much, and we've got to change with it. But when we can, we're still trying to reduce scene times. Some of the things that need to be addressed at some point in time or continue to consider is sometimes there is still a delay in response. Sometimes you've used up all your resources, and that's going to happen. The biggest thing is to try to minimize that as much as we can. Running a 2-person crew, it's hard. We have male and female, we have big people, we have little people. But when you're talking about, even Chris is one of our providers. You take me and Chris, and we're 3 stories up on the outside set of wooden steps trying to get Uncle John, who's 300 pounds too down those wooden steps. It's tough on a two-person crew. So you know, that's something to keep in mind. The volunteers are a huge assistance, but that's something to keep in mind. As far as the buildings and all of that, one of the biggest things that we continually have to deal with is the lack of a designated shower or adequate bunk area. Some of our people were working 24-hour shifts because it's easier to schedule. You work 124 and you're done for the pay period. But even without the 24s, it's stressful. It's sometimes you need some downtime depending on what you run in on. And many times, and it hasn't been a problem, we've been able to work with Chief Baker. Many times we've had to make arrangements to get our personnel access to a shower for stuff that they've got into out here. So that's something that really needs to be addressed at some point in time or would benefit the program. Any questions about any of that? The last thing I've got, the last 3 pages you've got there is the annual, it's a yearly billing summary. As everybody knows, the City of Covington does soft billing for EMS. Some of this can be misleading if we're not sure what we're looking at. For 2018, our billing company, well, we responded to 1,505 calls. The billing company was able to bill 1,045. So you're looking at, you know, about 1,100 there, or I'm sorry, about 500 that weren't billed, whether they were lift assist, canceled calls, fire standbys, or whatever. The second page, that's the nutshell right there. That first category, charges, the billing company billed out $695,873.20. They received payment of $218,569.65. The City of Covington share, after the billing company took their fees, was $202,176.92. That's what the City of Covington took in for 2018. Now, that's a little misleading too, because as you can see, January and February, there was nothing billed out. There was some problems with the billing companies and things getting squared away there. So it wasn't really until June, July that they were actually billing our current calls. When they first started, they were back billing. A lot of those calls fell into the category it had been too long, and they just didn't recover nothing for them. So to use this and try to project something is really going to be really hard to do. We're really going to have to wait till next year while everything's running right for a certain amount of time to be able to project anything. But that's what was taken in. We hear about different insurances. This last page, that'll just give you an idea of the type of insurances that were billed and the ones that paid. Commercial, that's your Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield and all. And Medicare, Medicaid, that's self-explanatory. Private are the ones where they send the individual information to get their insurance company's information. And as you can see, the Medicare, Medicaid, you're going to pretty much get some recovery from them. The other two, it's hit and miss whether you're going to get anything or not. It's a job in itself just to understand this billing thing. That's it for the 3 months, and if y'all have any questions, I'll try to answer them or concerns.
I want to go back to the beginning of your statements. When you were talking about training the volunteers, you said that we haven't done any training here, but they had gone outside for training, for EMS training?
No, sir. The Covington EMS does not provide funding to train.
Okay.
If
The volunteers.
we don't. If I wanted to take a class, Covington EMS not going to pay for it either. I'm going to pay for it, or my other job, or my volunteer agency will pay for it.
Okay.
Now we have done some training in conjunction with the volunteers. Actually, the volunteers have set it up, and our people have been included in it to get some continuing ed. That was classes they set up in the firehouse. We, as Covington EMS, we set up one CPR class, but yeah, we do not pay for our people to get initial. It's people we hire on that are already certified.
Any other questions?
I'll just add just real quick. Number one, I'd like to give Dwayne some public kudos. He's done a great job. Getting medical billing turned around was a monster in itself. In addition to having to manage a number of personalities with 26 extra people and folks wanting hours and things of that nature. And starting a new department, it's never easy, but he's done an outstanding job in my opinion. One thing just to talk about the numbers, if you kind of take a look at it, on our high volume call time, we also have Tim Yancey there as a backup to kind of help, but we've had issues with the vehicles. And so hopefully we can kind of get past those things, but one thing for the future to look at is during those high call volume times, your non-peak hours, which are your nighttime hours, the potential for down the road, depending on what the data shows, maybe having a third person for that time. But I think you need a year worth of data to kind of look at everything and make an informed decision. But I think he's done a great job.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, Dwayne.